Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Feedback Friday. How's it going? What's going on? How's life? Isles, Leo, Sergey, Sticky, what up, Sticky? Waters in the building, Chiptune, Kirby, Determined Daff. Hello, everybody. Ali, how you going? 1 second, I'm just going to respond to this message. And then, what up, Eddie? What's up, and Friendo? And then we'll get started. What's multi-stream? Multi-stream is Twitch and YouTube at the same time, but right now we're just doing it on YouTube because I couldn't figure out the multi-stream basically. One sec. What's going on, Xylozim? Hello. Sorry, I'm just responding to a message. Right. Let's do this, folks. So, Feedback Friday. For those of you that don't know, you send in your work and we give feedback. Class is in session. I hope everyone has their books ready. Yeah, so basically it's pretty simple. You send in your work just like this. For those of you that don't know, here is the feedback section on the Discord, and you post your work with this little new post button. Title it, give as much explanation as what you're trying to achieve as possible, because that will help me give feedback, and also the community can give feedback as well. So the more info you give, the better, the easier it will be for everyone. And then click that Feedback Friday tag and then post it, and we'll check it out on Feedback Friday. Now, the way that this works is it's first come, first served. So we have a little bit of a backlog to get through, but just post it as soon as, and we will get to it eventually. That's how we do it. I was thinking about doing some sort of like lottery system or like pay to win system, but to be honest, there's a lot of complications with that kind of thing because it essentially turns it into gambling. So we're not going to do that. It's just going to be first come, first serve. I might in the future start a new Feedback Friday section, like a new Feedback Friday, like just for Feedback Friday stuff, and then like lock it out, like open it up for a certain amount of time and then lock it. It just depends on how many people, how many submissions we get. I don't think we get too many for that. Do you think you'd be stuck? Did you think you'd suck forever when you first started drawing art and realized that it was so much you didn't know? No. When I first started making art, I just enjoyed making art, to be honest. I just I just enjoyed making art, and I wasn't really concerned with getting better. And I only really started to think about getting better when I wanted to draw particular things like superheroes, for example. Like superheroes, I really wanted to draw superheroes really well and draw comics and stuff. So then I started learning anatomy. And only then was I kind of exposed to how much there is to learn, but I never really felt overwhelmed by it. In fact, I was so driven when I first started making art that I always thought, like, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the best artist in the world. But that was before the internet and stuff. That was before I had access to the internet anyway. And it's such a bad mindset to have because no matter where you're at in your art journey, you'll get to like 40 years old and there'll be some 10-year-old there'll be some 10-year-old on the other side of the planet that can do everything perfectly, which is just nuts. So I kind of learned from that not to compare myself with anyone and just enjoy making art the way I like to make things. So I don't really think about it too much now, but like I think about improving in terms of just like, oh, there are some weaknesses that I'd like to improve on. You know what I mean? I don't really think of it as like I need to become a certain level of, you know, I don't need to become anything. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I just have to make things that I enjoy. Because my philosophy is like, you're going to die at some point, right? That is the only thing that is known. The only thing that you know for sure is that you're going to die at some point. Unless you like harvest the blood of unicorns or something, then maybe you won't. But that's my philosophy. Like, you're going to die at some point. So you have to do something which is that you'll enjoy while you're here. So I don't particularly enjoy like stressing about being number one or whatever, but I do enjoy working on my own projects. So that's what I do. That's what I do. Hey, so I missed you last week. I hope all is going good. Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, Marge. It was a rough week last week, so back to it this week. Back to it this week. Or if you figure out how to put brains into computers, yeah, that would be good. Art is a really humbling experience. It is, yeah. It is, definitely. Especially like, I definitely spent a long time when I first started or when I was younger, like feeling bad about art and like feeling like an imposter and stuff like that. But I recognize that actually, when you're an artist and you're surrounded by artists, you think that that's such a normal thing. But when you spend time with normal people when you spend time with normal people who don't make art, you realize making art is not everyone makes art. You know what I mean? Not everyone makes art, but it seems that way when you're surrounded by artists. But anyway, folks, let's get on with this. Do not philosophy let us out. I'll do what I goddamn want on my own damn stream. If you don't like it, you can leave. Somebody hit the ban button. I'm really wishing you and your thank you very much, Marge. I appreciate it. Okay, boomer. Okay, noob. Goodbye. I'm sorry that you've got the TikTok brain curse where you can't focus on anything for more than 3 seconds. Are you trying to swipe upwards right now? Do you only see scrolling? I feel sorry for you. You'll be fine. I'm sure you'll be fine. Not everyone makes art, but we all make fart. Very true. Right, let's crack on. Let's go. Where were you last time? So one thing, firstly, special mention. This was made by you checking out also profiles on Discord? I don't check out profiles, definitely not. You have Subway Surfers playing on a different tab. You need it on like the bottom corner. You need Subway Surfers on the bottom corner in like Minecraft parkour somewhere with some like AI generated voice text. Just kidding. Yeah, me too. How's it going, Sally? Isurus B Shark, what up? Sounds like my ADHD. Yeah, true. That is how it feels, right? So, first special mention to Hazel and their 7-year-old brother Flynn, who made some. Hazel is 10, by the way, and drew this. How incredible is this? 10 years old. That's what I'm saying. No matter how good you are at art, there's a 10-year-old who is just insane already. So, Hazel made this faceplant piece, which I think is amazing, and their 7-year-old brother Flynn made some pixel art. Let's go. How incredible is this? How incredible is this art? Check these out on stream. Out on stream. Thanks for making them. 10-year-old. I know, isn't that nuts? Digital art. Digital art with that skill at 10 years old. That's crazy. And 7 years old with pixel art. Look at this. Nuts. So crazy. Can you try this game called Manyland? It's a game with pixel drawing worlds and characters made of pixel drawings with animations and all. Maybe sometime. Is it your game? If it's your game, we could check it out. I'm going to Google it actually because I'm curious. Goes for more than just art. There's always someone who's better than... Yeah, exactly. So there's no point... there's no point stressing about that. Because you'll never win. It's on Google. Maybe sometime. If it's not your game, then probably not, because we're doing feedback at the minute for people's creations. So where were we? We checked out all these works from last time. By the way, I'm probably only going to be doing about an hour and a half to 2 hours today, folks. So going to be animating this. Any advice for drawing backgrounds? So hello, if anyone could give you feedback on this, it'd be nice, especially the background, because it's taking quite a long time. So if any tips for that, I'd be super appreciated. Finished the static version of this, I think. Now I'm going to animate it. So the feedback Mr. Wizard gave, because it's always good to check out what other people have said, is I think the horizon in the background could be lowered. I think it'd give a cool effect when you see all the trees. All think that eagle is an enemy. Could use bright colors so it's fast and noticeable, but I really like the art style character. Looks great. I do agree with that. Based off the path list, so there's eagles color in game. However, that's a good point. I'll see if I can make it blah blah blah. Lowering the horizon also sounds good. Okay, so my thing with the background is that, I mean, the background's nice, right? I think the style of these is nice overall. Imitating lights and shadows also hard for kind of age. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those pieces show really good understanding of those. I mean, when I was 10, I wasn't drawn like that. Definitely not. Definitely not. So this is the piece that we've got today for feedback. They want help on their background. I think their background looks really nice. I think the only thing that looks off, and it doesn't really look off in this sense, but like the background has a certain perspective, right? Like... background has this certain perspective with all of these. The horizon line is high, basically. The horizon line is like there. So you've almost got a top-down perspective because you're seeing the tops of shapes. If we just break this down into basic shapes, you're seeing the tops of shapes, and so you're getting a basic perspective, top-down perspective from that. Now, the characters don't necessarily look like they're in the same perspective, and that's the thing which looks off about that for me. Because the characters themselves, if you check that out, the characters are kind of flat. They're kind of flat. They don't really have too much perspective going on. There's a little bit in the foot there. But for the most part, there isn't any. So that's why it looks a little bit off to me. You know what I mean? That's what I think anyway. So perhaps, like the other person said, bringing that horizon down quite a lot would help this. So let's try and do that. Let's just try and do that. Oh, I can't actually take these. Maybe I can steal. Maybe I can steal these colors or something. But how's it going, folks? Anyone working on anything cool today at the minute? What are you doing while watching the stream? Are you studying? Are you drawing? What's going on? That's true. That's something that didn't even occur to me when I started. I had no perspective reference. Yeah, so with backgrounds, right, I think there's a process that you can follow that will help you every single time. So when I worked as a freelance artist, one of my biggest jobs was to make background art, basically. And I don't think I'll be able to fix this, but I'll show you. It's going to take me a while to do this, so I'm just going to show you the process. I think that's going to be easier. So a quick process that you can use whenever you're doing a background for a piece literally just break it down into horizon line, right? Because your horizon line is one of the most important things, because the simplest thing from a horizon line is, and this is for everyone, not just for you who made the piece, the simplest thing from the horizon line is if an object is below the horizon line, right? Like let's say I'm just going to draw two squares, right? Square there, square there. But the difference is, if this is your horizon line, these are the vanishing points that are coming out from it, which is what you have in order to establish a perspective. You'll notice that the object that is above the horizon line, you will be looking up at it. Anything above the horizon line, you're looking up at it so you see underneath it, right? And anything under the horizon line is the opposite, where you're looking on top of it. Now, it depends what you want it to look like. And obviously things that are like intersect it like that, you can see a mixture of just in front of it, basically. You're basically just in front of it and you can see each going towards the vanishing point. So that's something to keep in mind, because if you have the horizon line is super high up, like we had in your piece, where let's move the horizon line, let's just delete this. The horizon line is really far up like this, for example, but then you have just a straight on character and everything else has a different perspective. It just doesn't look like it fits in that world, which is kind of what you had yourself. You know what I mean? You had loads of these different perspectives, but then you have a flat, non-perspective thing here. You know what I mean? How do you determine where the horizon line is? That's your preference, I think. That's your preference on what you want to show in like a landscape. That's a preference on what you want to show. So do you want to show, for example, let's put the horizon line down there. What is this image going to look like? You're going to be looking up mainly. Let's put this here, right? And let's just assume that the I'm just going to put the vanishing points there. They will look a little bit skewed because you shouldn't really put vanishing points too close together because it's just going to look skewed. But notice what is this going to look like just from a perspective? Yeah, this is going to look super like you're looking up at things. Yeah, you're going to be looking up at a lot of things. Just going to follow basic perspective here. I'm not going to do anything fancy, nothing special. This is just basic 2D perspective, 2-point perspective, sorry. And you're going to be looking up at a lot of things. So basically, the vibe that you get from this is that you are small and looking up. Now, reverse this. Let's say we put the horizon line up here, like this. And we, again, 2 vanishing points, just roughly here. What kind of view are we going to get here? What kind of view are we going to get here? Well, we're mainly going to be looking down on things, right? Let's just draw a square. 2D objects, look, 2D object, 2D object, 2D object. But then trying to put that in 3D, it's not going to work because they won't have a face like that. But now we're going to be looking down on things. And now you feel like you're quite tall. You feel like you're looking down on stuff. So the question of, well, how do you know whether you should put a horizon line lower or a horizon line higher? The answer to that is, what kind of view do you want to have? Do you want to feel like you are above them or below them? Or do you want something a bit more balanced? If you want something a bit more balanced, then just put the horizon line in the middle. You know, or like slightly lower or like slightly higher. Maybe you want a slightly higher view. So one thing I'd recommend for anyone doing a background is just to quickly sketch your idea, right? So this is the process that I would go for making a background. So let's say, right, what do we want to draw? I want a character jumping into the air. Okay, I want a character jumping in the air. So I'll quickly sketch that. Okay, character jumping. This is my jumping, right? Whee! I don't know why they jump like this, but they do. Okay, they jump like that, and there's my flow. Or yeah, there's my flow. I want them to look like they're jumping in. Now, there's 2 ways This is very rough, but there's two ways that I can display this. Oh, there's multiple ways that I can display this, actually. It's very simple, but let's just look at this in multiple different ways on multiple different horizon lines. If I put the horizon line down, right, what are we going to see? We're going to see underneath the character, like we saw before, yeah? I'm just going to do it a one-point perspective straight from the middle. Ding, 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 just like that. And I'm just going to draw some basic 3D shapes. So if I draw that, right, another circle for the character. Now, the area that we'll see is underneath a lot of those, yeah? Whereas if you were to do it the other way, that's basically what we've got here. That kind of matches that. But if we do it the other way, where we have the horizon line like that up there, you might see more on top of the character's head. You know what I mean? You see more on top. And it doesn't look like they're very different because I'm doing these very simple. But trust me. Lighting. Let's say I do lighting. You're going to see all the way on top of the character here. You know what I mean? Whereas the lighting there, you're not really going to see it because that's on the top. And you're going to see mostly what's underneath. Whereas that on this one is more shaded. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I know this is a horrible drawing. I haven't really thought this through too much other than this horrible drawing. Try to like wing it on the spot about what I'm trying to say. But hopefully that makes sense. I want something a bit more balanced. I mostly draw characters and that's what I start with first. So would it be better to change the character to match the perspective or vice versa? I think what you could do... So your characters, right? Let's take a look again at your piece. Oops, not that. Take a look again at your piece. So your characters, they don't have a huge amount of perspective themselves. They're quite flat, yeah? Whereas, like we said before, your background is essentially, your horizon line is quite high up still, you know? It's kind of like this, because if you look at the shapes that you've got, if I just turn these into cylinders, basically. Turn these into cylinders, always look at basic shapes when you're doing it. You've got a top-down perspective background. So you've got a top-down perspective background, yet the characters are looking flat. So maybe what you could do is just pull the horizon down, the horizon line down to about there, which might mean drawing the background again, unfortunately. Like if you try to match the characters, right? If you try to match the characters to this perspective, basically what you'd be doing is you'd have to foreshorten them, right? So if I try and draw these in terms of 3D shapes, right? Sphere, let's just use a cylinder here. A cylinder for the leg. You might have to start to foreshorten these things and like change the angles, which can be really, really complicated. Like I find that complicated. That's something I struggle with still. You might be better at it than me, but I definitely struggle with that. Like trying to get it so that the character looks 3D and in the same plane and foreshortened at the same time. So you could redraw the characters if you want them to match that perspective, but personally I find it easier to redraw backgrounds because, and that just depends, it just depends on your preference really. Do you prefer drawing your characters and drawing your characters again? Because let's look at this bird. Currently the bird, if we just break it into shapes, right? Let's just try this. Let's break the bird into shapes. I'm going to give this like a rectangle and this like a rectangle, and the wings are just going to be triangles, okay? Let's think of the bird like that. If we wanted to make that the right perspective, we'd have instead a rectangle where you'd see mostly on top of it. There's the rectangle being transformed into the rectangle. The head also is a rectangle. Obviously the scales are a bit strange in this. And you'd see the upside of the wing here and the upside of the wing there as well. Does that make sense? So now you can kind of see on top of the bird. And I'm kind of, the way I'm drawing this is I'm just matching it to this. I'm matching it to the perspective of this cylinder, which I've also turned into a rectangle. You know what I mean? Me too, mostly because I'm more familiar drawing characters. Got you. And the same goes for the backwards thing there. So you'd have to turn the bird kind of like that for it to match. And the same with this character. You'd have to take this. Let's just take a sphere. It might be easier to do it with boxes, actually. We'll take this rectangle, this rectangle, this is going to be a rectangle. Everything is a rectangle. Everything is a rectangle, right? It's a little bit more complicated for characters, I think. So you take the head and you'd see mostly the top of the head. You'd apply the perspective to it. You'd see the top of the body with the box like that. And then you'd have the leg, which would be underneath. You know what I mean? Underneath that. And then the other one would kind of be hidden away behind. Do you see what I mean? Do you see how this is more on top? If I shade all of the bits on top, you might see that a bit easier. I might do that in a different color, actually. That's a horrible color. You might see all of the top planes, essentially, which aren't already there. These are the top planes, which are already there. And these top planes are matching these top planes. And an easy way to draw characters into perspective is, again, just establish your horizon line. Just go from the basics. Establish your horizon line, establish your vanishing points, and draw everything to the same perspective. Like if I'm going to draw a cylinder top there, make sure that's all right. I probably will start with boxes, because boxes are so much easier to draw. Like everyone can draw. If you can draw one line, you can draw another line, and then another line, and then another line, and just connect them and match. So, for example, this, you could draw the face there. 1 point perspective is the easiest, because you literally just draw the 2D shape face like that, and then you just connect it to the vanishing point, basically, and then cut it off where you just want the shape to end or extend to or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then your characters would have to match that. So you would draw, I don't know, the 2D shape. Let's match it to the horizon line. Vanishing point, sorry. And same again. All of a sudden you start to have things which are in a 3D space. Things which are in a 3D space rather than just 2D. Now, 2D in a 3D space, it does work. It just depends on your style as well. Like, I'm not trying to say you have to change the characters and make them 3D, because this can work. So this is just if you want the characters to be in the same perspective. There's nothing wrong with this as a style. Like what you actually have right now, there's nothing wrong with that. You can have 2D flat characters with 3D background. If that is an established style, you keep that consistent throughout the rest, you're good. You don't actually have to change anything. This is only if you want the characters to match the perspective of the background. In which case, there are two options. You change the background, or you change the characters. Match that. Or you don't change anything, and you just go with it, and you take it as like a learning thing. Know what I'm saying? Okay, cool. Let's move on. I hope that was useful. Next up, let's have a look. Bum, 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 bum. But it's a very good piece, by the way. It's a very, very good piece. So I'm excited to see how that goes. There's nothing else feedback wise I would give. Your style is really nice. I think just a couple of thoughts and considerations with that will help a lot. Next up. Where the heck are we? I think whenever it says one new post, the thing just freaks out. But anyway, Lil Uproot. Here we go. This is from Mr. Wizard. It says, use 3 dots perspective, my knowledge of color theory and art class to draw this little fella. Don't crush my dreams. Okay, let's crush someone's dreams. So another piece on perspective. We're always getting a lot of perspective these days, huh? Let's check it out. Edit. Canvas size. There. Sorry for flashbang. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so 3-point perspective. We've just talked about 1-point perspective. We've just mentioned briefly 2-point perspective. 3-point perspective is the same. It's 2-point perspective with one more perspective on it. It's perspective. You know what I mean? So 3-point perspective, for those of you that don't know, you start with your 2-point perspective. So you establish a horizon line. You put in your vanishing points. Let's say they're there, right? You draw out all of these things. Your guides, basically. And then what you do, in order to make 3-point perspective, all you have to do now is add in a 3rd point. Now, you might be wondering, well, where is the third point? Where do you draw the third point? Well, you can do it in multiple places. You can do one here, or you can do one here. Now, if you do one here, is it there? I think so. I think that's right. If you do it down the bottom, it's been so I never do 3-point perspective, so I might be wrong here. If you do it down the bottom, yeah, this is like looking up at a tower, which is getting smaller. This is very good for like outdoor tower scenes, like comic book style, very very crazy cityscapes with like skewed proportions and whatnot. You know what I mean? Something like this. You see how it now looks like we're looking almost down at a city, if I put in like the buildings and stuff, matching also the perspective of these vanishing point lines, guides and stuff. You see how that almost looks like a city from that view? Okay. That's what the 3-point perspective with the bottom one looks like. Now, 3-point perspective with the top one. Oh, let me just. 3-point perspective with the other way around looks like the opposite, where you're like looking up at it rather than looking down at it. Kind of like what we were talking about before with the 2-point perspective. So you have something like this now, where we're now on the floor looking up at a crazy cityscape building or something like that. You know what I mean? These lines are skewed because, like I said before, if you put these horizon lines on a 2-point perspective close together, they look more skewed, like a fisheye lens or something on a camera. But the further away these 2-point perspective lines are, the less skewed it's going to look. So just keep that in mind if you're doing anything with perspective. But yeah, boom, boom, boom. Now you can see that we're kind of on the bottom looking up. You know what I mean? So that's 3-point perspective. So let's take a look at this piece. Let's take a look at this piece. Let's try and figure out the perspective of this piece. So I personally think exaggerating the perspective, making Mario come more towards the camera can make this piece much more engaging. Maybe, Koemi, yeah, that's a good idea. Some changes in perspective and light source direction can go a long way in making things interesting. Dang, that's crazy. It is crazy, right? Yeah, perspective, I don't think perspective is too complicated. It just takes a little bit of learning the rules. I found it to be one of the easier ones to learn. I think you can learn it. If anyone is trying to learn perspective, here's a couple of steps that you can go through. Just start with 1 point, right? Start with 1-point perspective, then 2-point, and then 3-point. And for each of these points, there are more, by the way. There are more, and there's more to do with perspective, but basically these are all you're going to need unless you're going to go crazy with perspective, which you can, some people do, but this is a good starting point anyway. Comment was for the previous pick. Yeah, the one with the eagle and you could see the light source. Yeah. But if you're going to learn perspective, just start with this, and what you do is learn about horizon lines. Right? It should be fairly simple. Learn about the horizon line, which we've just been through. Learn about the vanishing points. Once you know that, then just make a piece in 1 point and just make some basic shapes. Just make some basic shapes. So 1 point is like, here's 1 point. There's your horizon line. There's your vanishing point. Basic shapes on top of that, like square, triangle, circle, for example. And then use the vanishing points guides to make this 3D shapes in a 3D shapes in a 3D space rather than a 2D shapes in a 2D in a 3D space. You know what I mean? And from doing that, you'll quickly learn. You'll quickly learn and get an idea and maybe mess around with it and say, well, what is it like when I make the horizon line up here? What is it like when I make the horizon line down here? What is it like when I move the vanishing points very close to each other, for example? Do that with 1 point, do that with 2 point, do that with 3 point, and you'll be sick of perspective and you'll know absolutely everything that you need to know for most applications. But like Moku said, there are some crazy stuff like 5-point perspective. There's just some nuts stuff like you can get into with perspective. But for what I've done, I've never really gotten further than 3 because I've never really needed it. As cool as it is, like I've never really needed it. This is the kind of thing you can do with 5-point, by the way. Let me show you, where you have like a wrapped orb of perspective. So I don't know exactly how it works, because like I said, I've never actually done 5-point perspective, but I think it's something like 1 point here, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and they like wrap. They like wrap, you know what I mean, around an orb, kind of like that. How to learn 17-point perspective. Yeah, good luck. What up, Blue Poo? How are you doing today? That's my friends. Oh, let's go. So, this piece. This is perspective. I can already see the floor, right? I can see the floor. I can see the character here is a cylinder. See, this character is a sphere. Trying to break it down into what the perspective is. It's kind of 3-point because we have a top-down view of the character in the shape. We have one perspective, all these lines want to go over here. So this is making me think that there's a vanishing point somewhere far over there. Much further than this, by the way. Much further than this. Something like that. And this is, like I said before, the further away the perspective is, the more skewed, or the less skewed it's going to look. So because this vanishing point is all the way over there, much further than this, all the way over there somewhere, this doesn't look very skewed, does it? Now, where's the other one? I imagine it's something like this. I don't have it exactly, but can you see just how far away these vanishing points are? So we've got one, if I just shrink this whole thing down, we've got one which is probably all the way over here, and we've got one which is like all the way over here. And you can see there how that turns into, as we've seen, oh bloody heck, as I've already talked about, we can see how that, and there's the horizon line, that turns into our 2-point perspective. So we have our 2-point perspective there. We've already established that. We can see that now. This is something you would do before drawing this, not afterwards, but I'm trying to do it like retrospectively. And then we also have a 3rd point. How do we know that? Because the character is essentially going this way. You know, like we saw with the 3rd point. So somewhere up there, we have another point, which is coming down like that. Okay? At least that's what I think, right? It should be like this. Is that the right way? I forget. I forget if I've done it the right way. It might be the other way. Is it the other way? That one looks down because we're looking up at it. Yeah, it should be this way, actually. Who knows? Who knows? I'm supposed to know. Yeah, because you're seeing wider at the top. And essentially, with the 3rd point below, yeah, I agree. Yeah. It is because you're seeing above it, and it should be getting smaller as you're going down it. You can see by the legs, yeah. So that's essentially the perspective that they've set up there, or have done for this piece. So let's get that piece again, a cleaner version. What up, Luke? I love you. What's going on? I appreciate you. Yeah, so you're going like that. So it is from below. You can see that from the trees as well. But that'll be somewhere down there. Somewhere down there. So I think they've done a good job. I think this is actually quite a complicated perspective setup, like we can see here. The person who's drawn this understands the perspective and uses it well. So I think they've done a good job. Actually, I think they've done a really good job. I think it looks nice. It's such a hard angle to get away with as well, because the character here is looking up. You know what I mean? They're looking up and they've got a hat on. That's like so complicated. But what I would do with any piece which is in perspective Any single piece that's in perspective, doesn't matter what it is, right? Doesn't matter what it is, any piece that's in perspective, let's just draw in those perspective lines again. Any piece that's in perspective, just start with basic shapes if you're unsure. If you're really, really unsure about like what, how to draw the character in that perspective, just start with the most basic shapes and add on top of that. So one really cool tip for that is, you know in 3D, when you see the wireframe of an object. In fact, this is a good drawing. This is a 5-point perspective drawing, but ignore that. I just want you to see how this sphere is like has wireframes wrapping around the object, right? And when you want to mask, when you want to add a feature, when you want to add a feature to something, like let's say we want to add eyes that look like this. That you can draw it flat, and then you can just map it to the perspective line. This is a trick, by the way, for drawing backgrounds. For example, there's a trick for drawing backgrounds where, let's say you have a 2-point perspective setup like this, and you want to draw a complicated item like a guitar. I'm sure Ghost Lupo actually, this was a question that Ghost Lupo, this is how we got Ghost Lupo into the community, because Ghost Lupo asked this on Reddit or something, or was part of some thread where someone had asked this and wanted to know how you draw. So now is the time, Lupo, where you're going to finally learn it. But basically, let's say I want to draw a guitar in this environment. What you do is, rather than trying to draw the guitar in 3D from the start, right? Draw the guitar in 2D. Okay? Do some complicated ass shape like this or something. It's a crazy guitar. You draw the guitar in 2D. Okay? And now, you take this. I'll draw a little bounding box around it. That can help. This works for characters as well, by the way. And now we take this and we match it to the perspective. Because let's just ignore that it's a guitar, and let's just assume that it's a bounding box, an actual box. Let's map it now to the perspective that I've already established. We're going to look at it from below. Okay? I'm just going to reduce the opacity a bit. And now, just using those lines from earlier, I'm just going to redraw over this side, because this is going to be the front of the guitar, so that can stay exactly how it is. Okay. But this is already in perspective. We already win there, but now we need to make it 3D. So we follow those lines. Yeah, just do it all at the corners. Follow the lines. We're looking at it from below, so we'll see all of this. Under there. There you go. You now have a guitar in perspective. And it wasn't as hard. Wasn't that hard? You just had to draw it in 2D first and flip it around a bit. There you go. Obviously, if you move it, it's going to break the perspective, but you can do that everywhere. You can do that literally everywhere. In fact, now that I'm talking about this, I feel like I should make a video just on perspective and all of the tricks and tips that I know. Because I recognize that, to me, it just seems simple. But if you've never done it before, it does seem like witchcraft, eh, Gabriel? When you do point perspectives, do you do the lines like perfectly spaced? You don't have to. And there are quicker ways of drawing perspective lines as well. So if you use something like Photoshop, Photoshop has this star tool, which I think... who has a good video on that? BAM Animation. Go check out BAM Animation's perspective video if you use Photoshop, because they have a star tool which works really well for setting up perspective. If you're using Clip Studio Paint, which I am, this has a perspective ruler basically, and you can I forget how to do it because I never use it, but basically you can set up perspective rulers. So you add in a vanishing point somewhere like there. I forget. Somewhere like there and there. And then you add in your guides, for example. Although I forget how to do it. Yeah, I really forgot how to do it. Hold on. I never use the perspective ruler in this. I find it easy just to draw my own. Because here's the thing, when you have perspective lines which are perfect and you follow them perfectly, your piece will have perfect perspective. But I find that it looks nicer if it's a little bit janky, actually. If it's a little bit janky, it looks a little bit nicer, a little bit more organic. But when you're learning, you should definitely try and you don't have to be like perfectly spaced like this, for example, but just following the perspective perfectly will help you a lot. Yeah, but this is a nice piece. I think they've done a good job. I think this character is quite complicated, and in order to improve this, or maybe think about the features as we were saying before, just think about it like a wireframe. Like think about their facial features. This is just a sphere with a bounding box, you know, like this wireframe going around it type thing. And if you want to add features on top of that, again, think about them in 2D. Think about them in 2D and then just apply them on top. That's much, much easier than trying to think in 3D space. Because if we look at that, actually, the eyes will be bigger around this side, which they've already kind of got, but then they'll actually get hidden a bit around there. You know what I mean? And that's when you're thinking, this is when drawing gets hard, like really hard, because you're then thinking in 3D. You know, this is how you start to draw in 3D, by treating things as like 3D shapes and whatnot, and how it wraps around the object rather than being, what's it called? How it wraps rather than being like 2D or static on something. Like it will follow the contour of the ball, the line of the ball, and it will hide in the background. It's kind of like when you draw a character's face in three quarters or whatever, and everyone wants to do that and draw the eyes there and the mouth there, and that's fine, but you recognize that actually one of the eyes is more hidden than the others, and you know, the nose is there, maybe the eye is completely hidden, then you've got the mouth there, you know, and the way that wraps around the head, and you know, you can quickly build something together. But sometimes hiding something is good to give a sense of form and depth and perspective. Do you use or prepare some image in advance for this trick? What, perspective? No, I just set it up. I just set it up every time. That's the process that I showed earlier for perspective, was basically the process that I use for all backgrounds, which is draw a rough sketch of what I want to draw. The tip is that the sphere will have a perfect silhouette no matter the perspective. That's a cool tip, Koemi. I've never known that. Is an onion. This is an onion character. But yes, use the sphere as the base guide. So what I'll do is I'll just draw a quick sketch of something that I'd like, or like the idea, without thinking at all about perspective. Like I don't want to think about perspective at this stage, because at this stage in a background, it's mostly about composition, like where elements are going to be placed. And then after that, that's when, now that I've got an idea of where they're going to be placed, that's when I'll start to think about, right, perspective, the proper perspective. Like I might have a rough idea of what perspective looks like I've placed them here for a reason, for example. But in this one, this is when I'll actually start to draw it out with 3D in mind, if I want something to be in a 3D space anyway. But anyway, it's like this character, for example, because this perspective is so high up, you actually wouldn't see much of this character's feet, because the top of the cylinder here would take up most of the space. So you wouldn't see much of that. You might see like a tiny bit, you know? And that's why it's really hard to wrap things around. Like drawing in 3D is just really hard. That's one of the hardest things, I think. But once you can start to wrap your head around it, you're unstoppable. And just start, if you're just getting started with it, just do basic shapes. The more that you draw circles, squares, triangles, and then turn them into cylinders, you know, draw some ellipses and draw some cylinders in other ways. And what are these called? cuboids or something. I don't even know the name. Long triangle, 3D triangle. When you can draw 2D shapes, then draw 3D shapes, and then draw 3D shapes in perspective, you can then just draw 3D shapes on top of other 3D shapes in perspective, and basically you can draw anything at that point. You can draw absolutely anything, because any complex thing in the world, characters, robots, mechs, horses, whatever, any complex object can be broken down into basic 3D shapes, into basic 2D shapes, into lines. So you can draw anything at that point. And it won't take you that long, maybe a couple of years, maybe less, probably even just months. If you really smashed it out, you could probably do it in months. Prism, that's the one. An isometric game is like 1 point perspective. Pyramids, yeah. Isometric. Yeah, isometric is like 1 point perspective, yeah. Or was it like 2 point perspective? Can't remember. Let me see an isometric. It's been so long since I've done any isometric stuff. I have to refresh my brain. Yeah, there's lots of different types of perspective as well, like orthogonal, all that kind of stuff, like projections you're talking about there. Isometric is 2 perspective, but they're infinitely far. There we go. So here's an image for you. Yeah, so remember how we were talking about the vanishing points? These are the vanishing points, as Kohemi's just stated there. They are infinitely far away. So that's why, remember how I said if you have a perspective and the horizon line, the vanishing points are closer together, it will look skewed, right? Well, as Kohemi said, these ones are super far away. Love your feedback. Just out of curiosity, where do you currently work? I work in a stock room, putting boxes away. I used to do like freelance art and stuff, but I stopped doing that. Just because of life. It's a fixed angle, 45-degree. Yeah, something like that. I never remember like the fine details about things. I only remember what practically works for me. I'm kind of bad with that. I should probably learn some stuff. But anyway, let's move on. Hopefully not another perspective piece. We're perspective out today. Unless this is like perspective special. Maybe it is. Perspective special feedback. Let's check it out. What else we got? So there, we checked that one out. We checked that one out. Next up, we got a Super Mario Wonder piece by Ryan Eno. Let's check this out. Some games work really well with isometric. Yeah, I agree. I love the isometric look. Check this out. Let's go. This is nice. A 2D pencil drawing, traditional. This is really cool. This shows a lot of awesome skill. This shows a lot of awesome skill. Which skills, you might be wondering? Well, line weight. Look at that. Look at, they got line weight in their pencil sketch, their pencil drawing, their line weight. They've got a lot of lighting. They've got form with the shadows going on. They've got a bit of bounce light going on from this, because you can see the shadow is going around there, but there's still light around here. Check this out. This is really cool. The line weight is nice. It is. This is really good drawing. And this is in perspective. This is in 2D traditional as well, which is not easy, because you can't control Z unless you use an eraser, which then you can. I love the subtle shading on the Wonderflower. Yeah, me too. Just everything. The way that they've, all of that, like that's so nice. And this, the gradient from that into the lighter area, that's really well done. Now this, if anyone is thinking about learning to draw, or if anyone wants to try and learn to draw, and you are... If anyone wants to learn how to draw and you're like, oh, but I don't have a special tablet, or I don't have this or this, and I need this, and before I can start learning to draw, I need to have this program or this. All you need is a piece of paper and a pencil. And you can learn so much about drawing. If anything, that's going to help you so much when it comes to doing digital later on. It's going to help you so much because you can just practice and practice and practice. You don't even need fancy paper. Some people buy like fancy stacks of paper and stuff. Just get some cheap printer paper where you get like 100 pages of printer paper, right? And draw forever. You could draw forever on that. That's how I learned how to draw, doing exactly the same as this, like finding a game that I really liked or finding characters that I really liked and just drawing them on big stacks of printer paper, basically, or rubbish. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. You can just draw whatever you want. You don't need fancy tools or anything. You can just pick up a pencil and draw your favorite characters. Is line weight really important? Depends on your style. Yeah, depends on your style. I think line weight, I really like line weight, and I like the effect that it gives you. I think it helps. It's just another way. So the elements of art, what are there? There's something like line, shape, form, light, all that rubbish, right? I say it's rubbish, it's not. It's like the fundamentals of art, the elements of art. You can use all of these elements to describe things or to show things, and line weight is a way of using line to show things as well, which I think is cool. And you can do whatever you want with that. I just would do the shining flower a little less big because the box is behind Mario. Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe they started with that. Maybe they weren't thinking too much in terms of composition with this. I'm not sure. I just think it's a nice display of like hand-drawn art skill. Are going to ignore the fact that Mario has a trunk? Yeah. No, Mario, this is Elephant Mario from Mario Wonder. I think they did a great job. This is a really nice drawing. Really hard to draw complex characters. Even like this, even though the character's already established and the design is already established, like drawing something from a picture, not like tracing it, but drawing something from a picture is really hard because you have to judge like distances, sizes, improve your observational skills. Like the fact that they've got that really consistent here, that's really cool. That's showing that they're good. The only problem is the tangents between the flower and Mario. Flower and Mario. Like this is almost a tangent here. That's one I can see. This line going into the ear. It's a bit of a tangent. What else we got? Those of you who don't know what a tangent is, a visual tangent is something that looks like something's collected almost. There's a big list of them. I can never remember what they all are. But it's kind of like a smell, kind of like coding smells. Here it is. There's so many different ones. Dude, I'd recommend this one. Chris Schweizer Guide on Spotting Tangents. This was always something that I really liked to look at. Chris Schweizer, I believe, is a comic artist. Check this out. So, check this out. You see how this character's hat is connected to the barn in the background, and it looks like the hat is really long? That's a visual tangent. You know what I mean? Lines which are parallel to each other, like the smoke from this hat kind of looks like an outline, and also this person's weapon that they're holding is parallel to the arm. That's a visual tangent. So it looks off. It makes it harder to spot, you know? Corner tangents, that's another one where corners go into other corners. I thought I was missing something because there's literally an elephant in the room. Love the Goomba flower, you cannot unsee, I know. The bump up tangent, so this is a very common one where your lines will bump into other lines, kind of making them connect a little bit. So yeah, I recommend just checking this out, to be honest. This is a really good guide. If you can't find, I don't know if that link works. I don't know why my links never work. But anyway, this is really cool. Keep it up. That's all I'd say for you. I'd say keep it up. Keep up drawing. That's going to be a good thing to do. You'll improve. You improve a lot by following that method. Okay, next up we got an animation. Let's go. Oh yeah. Look at this. How sick is that? So fluid. So fluid. This looks really magical, the way the mushrooms are growing. I love the fox's run as well, and the change in the head position. The only other thing I'd say about the change in the head position is it looks like the fox's head gets a little bigger, like volume-wise. But overall, animation is super clean. Overall, the animation is super clean. Love the fluidity on it. The only thing I'd be careful of is the volume changes sometimes in the character / fox. But overall, I love this. The bounciness, I know, isn't that so good? Mushrooms. The mushrooms are very, very impressive. The way they like float and like expand as well. That's so good. Animation is hard, man. This looks legit. Looks so legit. Looks like an old-fashioned like... Looks like the old-fashioned like Lord of the Rings animation. Have you seen that? I haven't seen the actual... although that's... I think that's like... What's that called? Where... Rotoscope. I think that's like rotoscope. That's some heavy frame rate. Yeah. Looks awesome. Yeah, looks really cool. Right. Let's have a look. Trailer feedback. Thanks for letting me submit. Nice. We got a trailer for Crystal Comet. The hair on the fox's chest. Let's check that out, actually. Yeah, the way that like whips back as well. That's really sick. Just a really good animation. Look at the little firefly things flipping around the staff. Like it's just really good. It's just a really good piece of work. What up, Talaba? They rotoscoped loads of it. Yeah. How are you doing, Talaba? We're just checking out some work for feedback. How are you doing today? So, Crystal Comet announcement trailer. Let's check this out. I love trailers. I'm going to be brutal. I love to be brutal with trailers. So I'm going to watch this trailer as if I'm clicking on this trailer and you're trying to sell me whatever it is that you're trying to sell me. Check it out. Let me make sure I've got some audio. Thankfully, you can't hear that. This video contains blood and graphic scenes of pixelated violence towards aliens, robots, humans, and a cow. There are some flashing images. Viewer discretion is advised. Okay. Interesting.
We'll make this quick.
Interesting style. A lot of action going on. Micro missiles unlocked. All systems are go. Crystal Comet. Okay. Watch that again. Warning, this video contains blood and graphic scenes of pixelated violence towards alien, robots, humans, and a cow. Do you need to put this in a trailer? You probably do, right? If it's got like flashing stuff. But does it need to be 5 seconds long? Is there like a low? I don't know if there's any low stuff. What up, Beast? How you doing? Weekend time, all good, relaxing after that pleasant storm. Did you have it bad where you were? I don't think it's been too bad here. At least that I know of, but I haven't really been out too much. So, this is cool, the character selection thing. Character selection thing is cool, but I don't think it's like the most important. So, with a trailer, this is what I think with a trailer. And I could be wrong, but this is kind of how YouTube works with videos as well. If this is the length of a video, right? This is the start and this is the finish. You have basically this much to convince the person. Most people, I think, like most people who watch videos, right? The average viewer duration of your video will be less than 50%. Right? And that, so what does that mean? Let's say if 10,000 people watch it, only 5,000 will watch. How does that work again? 50%. they'll watch half of it. I can't, my brain doesn't work right now. What if Mr. Magius was alright, just avoided public transport, probably smart, eh? But basically, not everyone will watch all of your video. Right? Not everyone will watch all your video. But also, what you also notice is there are key drop-off points in videos. The first key drop-off point is the very start. It's the very start of your video, and it's usually if something bad happens, drops off. Or if something boring happens, drops off. You know, it's not usually a straight line. And usually it also happens at the end. Like that, depending on the information that you're given, right? So for a trailer, I love the idea of starting the trailer with the character starting, but I think it should only be a second or so before the launching. I think they should start not with the characters. I think they should start with exactly what the game is to be like, okay, this is exactly what I'm getting. So what do I mean by that? I mean 4, 3, this. I think you should start with this. Start with this. Action, action, action. So now it's like, oh, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting. And then you can do characters. You know what I mean? So that way you know from the jump, right, this is something, you're like, this is something I'm going to watch or it's not. Because you only have like 3 to 5 seconds. And it is that quick. It's that quick. How long you have to convince someone of something. So if you're making somebody wait for 3 to 5 seconds, chances are they've clicked off. Chances are they've clicked off and they're already watching something else. Because you just don't have that long. You don't have that long to convince someone that the thing that you're showing is interesting. Whereas if you show something high pace, upbeat in the first 3 to 5 seconds, like that fight scene, you can then go, if they stick around, they're like, oh, this is cool, this is high pace, this is cool, I like the style of this. Some people won't, and that's just natural. But the people who do like it will go, this is cool, and then you can go, yeah, and check this out too. You can be different characters. And check this out too, and you can, you know what I mean? And check this out too. It's kind of like you're just feeding them more and more information about your game, you know? For a trailer of a new game you think is appropriate, make that anticipation for a drop. I think the problem is with anticipation. I think attention is the problem. Right? It would be amazing. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could go... Like, most people... Like, who loves their game the most? I'm making a game called Faceplant, right? Who loves their game the most? I love my game. I love my game the most. I'd love to be able to go, in this world of, you know, flowers and blah, 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 and all this blah, 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 and just give you a whole bunch of lore that I care about, you know? I'd love to just give you a whole bunch of lore. But the majority of people don't give a shit. A majority of people who are seeing this thing for the first time, they have no emotional connection to it. They have no background in it. They don't care. So what you have to do as a creator or a video maker, you have to make them care very, very quickly. So if you're trying to talk shit and just blast them with lore that they have no idea about, they have no emotional connection to, why would they care? Why would they care? They're not going to care. I don't care what your characters look like. I want to know what I'm going to play. I want to know what game I'm going to play. I want to know if this game is for me or not. So tell me that as quickly as you possibly can with the first couple of seconds. So you're not wasting anyone's time, basically. Like if I sit and watch, like how long is that? And this is probably not too bad of an example. There are worse examples that I've seen in trailers, definitely. There are worse examples that I've seen in trailers where people will literally just waffle on about something that is unimportant. It's important to you, but it's not important to me yet because you haven't convinced me that it's good yet. But basically the first 10 seconds, of your video, I've been waiting to see the game. You know what I'm saying? I know the first 5 seconds of that were like a warning. Do you need a warning? I don't know. I don't know if you need it. Probably need some sort of warning, right? But I'd probably limit that to like 3 seconds. I think 3 seconds is how long it takes for someone to read something. And I'd probably reduce any like comedy or whatever, unless it's important for selling the thing. Gameplay, graphic, story. You can, there's no, it depends on the goal. You can definitely have a trailer which is just more slow-paced characters and story. But that would be like a that'd be like a cinematic trailer almost. You know, that's not a gameplay trailer where you're convincing people to play your game. That's more of like it's almost like a teaser, you know? And the people who care about that kind of thing are going to be people who are kind of already interested in the game. You know what I mean? Kind of already interested in the game. So they're like two different kinds of trailers. By the way, for those of you who don't know, thanks Zai, by the way. For those of you who don't know, there's a really good person called Chris Z who has an entire Discord server, an entire blog of how to market a game. And basically it's called Chris Zakowski, and their entire job, their entire existence is figuring out what works for trailers, for Steam pages, and figuring out what doesn't. And statistically, it's what I've been saying because I just follow their data, basically. And I'm not saying a slower paced trailer couldn't work, but in general, you want to get your idea across very quickly. You want to get your idea across very quickly. You know what I mean? You have more freedom. Exactly. If it's known IP, like if Devolver Digital wanted to release a trailer of their new game, everyone goes, it's a Devolver Digital game. They already have some, you know what I mean? They already have some like backing, you know? They already have some interest. They already have a community there. It's the same with YouTube. Like Mr. Beast can put Mr. Beast's face in. You see this on YouTube. This is a phenomenon where people put their face in the video. People put their face in the video thumbnail. And then they go, well, why doesn't this work? Why aren't I getting views? I thought this was the way to do it. It's because nobody knows who you are. You know? Nobody knows who you are. You haven't established yourself yet. If you put Mr. Beast in the thumbnail, everyone knows who Mr. Beast is on YouTube anyway. So Mr. Beast can get away with it because he's established that as a brand. You haven't established that yet, you know? Until you've established that as a brand, it doesn't work. And it's the same with trailers. Nobody, if you're an unknown game indie, if you're an unknown indie, if you're an unknown indie, it's hard to say. If you are an unknown indie developer, nobody cares about who you are. Nobody cares about the lore until they do. And it's your job in the marketing to make them care, you know? It's your job in the marketing to make them care. It's why people say don't put your game studio thing in the trailer in the first 5 seconds, because it's like nobody knows who that is. You're just wasting their time then. You're wasting their time, and that's valuable time you could be showing someone your actual gameplay and convincing them that that's something that they might like. Depends for who you're marketing for, and in this game it's action focused players, so yeah, it needs to be fast paced. You just need to they just need to know quickly if it's the game they're going to get or not, if it's the game they want to play or not. But yes, overall I thought it was a decent trailer. It showed a lot of action. It looks crazy. It looks crazy, and that's the vibe I'm getting from it. So yeah, I think you've done a pretty decent job. I don't know fully if you need this starting bit, because like I said, it's 10 seconds before we get into any action. Like, these characters look sick, don't get me wrong, but maybe start with like launching in, you know what I mean? Like, and that could be 3 seconds, like launching 3, 2, 1, boom, and then you're in, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, whoa, we're in, wow, look at this crazy stuff, bosses and stuff, oh my god, you got characters, that's kind of sick. You know what I mean? You're kind of giving information. Hello, what's up, Rain? The action should probably ramp up from simple to chaos. I agree as well, Dom2D. Like, maybe start with something like this, where they're kind of like helping each other and there's some like text going on, and then get to this. Get to this nuts stuff. It really depends on your game, you know? I don't have 10 seconds to see what the game is. I only have 5 seconds. Yeah. Show me. Show me quickly. Frick, what up, Frick? How you doing? Because overall, it looks really cool.
No.
Looks like retro and fun. And that bit of comedy there in the end. Yeah, looks really cool. I'm going to say spoke about this on stream. Okay. Next up, folks, where we at? Let me see. Boom, boom. Here. My OC on a fake game scene. Let's check this out. OC stands for original character. Here we go. You know, who knows what I'm gonna say? Who knows what I'm gonna say here? Every time somebody posts some sort of video game mock-up, what is my response? Watch the game art video. I made an entire video. The endless wall of things to feedback on. Yeah, it never ends. I will die and there'll be feedback waiting. Someone will be like, hey, can you do my feedback this week? They like send it to the grave. I was thinking I might have to like lock it out or something at some point. But anyway, watch the game art video that I made. The game art video that I made, or how to make game art. Oh, the SNES Contra, the old one. Yeah. The other game. Yeah, I agree. Very retro. So yeah, watch the game art video. Firstly, because that will help with everything. There's some jagged pixel art in the hammer. There is. There's some jaggies everywhere. Like this is a jaggy. This is jaggy. Now, my take on jaggies and doubles, I've spoke about this before, is it depends. It depends on if you're consistent with it. It depends on if you're consistent with it and if that's part of the style. Like, I don't mind if something looks jaggy if you are consistent with it. Like, why not? Why could that not be a style? That's fine. It might not look like the most smooth pixel art, but it kind of reminds me of, what game is it? You think the hammer was intended to be smooth? Yeah, if that's the case, then if their intention is to be smooth, then yes. You'd have to think about it. You'd have to think about all that. It's kind of like Pizza Tower. Is it Pizza Tower? Yeah, it's kind of like Pizza Tower, right? If you look at Pizza Tower's sprites, Pizza Tower is very jaggy. And that looks incredible because overall it's consistent, you know? Overall it's consistent, and that's the style they're going for. Like, you get jaggies and stuff. Some of it's clean, but you get jaggies all over the arms and stuff. Like, you can do jaggies, you know? You can have a game with jaggies in. So I'm not the type of person that I'm not the type of person that will say, you need to remove all jaggies because, oh my God, I'm a pixel art perfectionist and it needs to be like that. Don't get me wrong. I also like pixel art perfection. I think that looks incredible as well. But I'm not the type of person that'll say, you need to get rid of all jaggies because it's a sin, you know? It just depends on the intention. Depends on the intention, depends on the style, depends what you're going for. But yeah, I think if it's intended to be smooth, then they should be smoothed out. It kind of, like the way that this hammer looks, it looks like I see what Kohemi's saying, where the hammer looks like it kind of gets thinner almost because of that. And maybe that's something that could be smoothed out. But overall, I think this looks really cool. Looks like a video game. My argument on doubles and jaggers will always end in me showing people Hotline Miami. Hotline Miami is amazing. Hey Soul, hey everyone, what up GSO Gaming? And the final thing I think with doubles jaggies, and this is something that people don't realize if you are a pixel artist, is people who are not pixel artists. Guess what? They couldn't give a single fuck. Most people, they don't know what it is. Like, you're talking about like someone who wants to play your game, right? Someone who's going to play your game. The percentage of those people who are artists is there, and the percentage of people who are pixel artists is even smaller. And the percentage of the people who are pixel artists and know about doubles and jaggies is even smaller. So for like a general audience, your pixel art style, most people don't care, you know? Most people don't actually care. And that's something I realized, because I was trying to make faceplant like perfection. And I was like, do you know what? I've shown that and people actually don't care. Pixel artists that haven't done a tour of the internet and been pulled into the anti-jaggy circle. Yeah. I think, to be honest, I think it comes from I've seen some like popular artists, popular pixel artists who are purists, who will like spew that kind of you should never do this type thing, like never do this. But the problem with that is they don't give a reason why, or maybe they do, but the people who listen to that don't know fully why, or don't know fully when. Like there are certain instances when and when not, and you know, it's like subjective, you know? It's like you can do it then or not then, or it might look better in this instance. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how it is. I hate that you should learn the rules and then break them if you want. Yeah. Oh, you don't even need to learn the rules. That's kind of how I think. You don't need to learn anything. You can just make stuff. Just make. That's kind of how I see it. Just make. It obviously helps to learn the rules. Definitely. It helps to learn the rules. It's kind of like, the way I see it is like I learned how to play guitar, right? I learned how to play guitar and I know very little, if not nothing, about music theory. I can still play guitar. I don't know anything much about music theory, but I can still play. And I can still write songs, and I can make my own songs, and I can sing beautifully. No, I can't sing beautifully, but I can make my own songs. Would it help if I learned music theory? Yes, 100%. Obviously, there are things that I've picked up over time that have helped. And I think that's the same for art. You don't need to learn it, but it will help. And especially if you're talking, or you want to learn how you're improving, or how to improve something, or how to, like, I see techniques as it's a technique, right? It's a thing that you can do to achieve your goal creatively. Whether you can use it or not, the more techniques that you know, the more you can kind of mess with it and freak about, and you're onto like the edges of art, which is also really fun. Like, yeah, once you know the rules, you can go on the edges, and that's really cool. Sing for us, please. Okay, what song? Think you're onto something, Saul? Your music career will skyrocket. Yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. I will actually release music at some point. Probably not under Soul Tunes. Probably just something, nothing related to me. Sing Wonderwall. I don't know that one, unfortunately. And after all, like, comment, subscribe. Sing California Girls. California Girls. Okay, let's not do that. Yeah, this is cool. I think this looks sick. I think overall you've got to, what's one thing that we do? Rickroll? I don't even remember how that goes. What's one thing we do with game art? We check out the values. Why do we check out the values? Because we want to see if it stands out against the background. It does. Character stands out against the background, so does the enemy. So do these things. You're good. Can't call yourself British and not know Wonderwall. I don't like Oasis. I like some of their songs, but generally, not really. Cleaning up my bleeding ears. You start by learning rules that might become limiting. Start by creating and learn rules when you struggle. Just make. I'm not going to give advice to anyone on like how they should start, the best way to start. Just start. You know, just start. I don't know what's going to work best for you. Your personality might be different to mine. What you like will be different to me. Like, I don't know. Just start making stuff. That's all you need to do. In whichever way works for you best. Your favorite old school video game? Tetris. Music Monday stream. Cleaning my bleeding ears. Because it was so beautiful. Yeah, this is cool. I like the OC. I'd like to actually play this game. I like to play this game. Morning, hopefully everyone's doing well. Yeah, doing well, thanks. How you doing? Although you said morning, it's not morning here, but you know, almost. Let's move. I don't think there's much I can add. I think you've got a cool OC in a cool game world. I think for anything other than specific related, check out the game art tutorial. That's basically all I'll say. That goes for everyone who makes any sort of game art. Although it's kind of a general guide. Love your OC. I'm going to say love your OC. This looks really nice. For anything game art related, I always mention my game art tutorial. But you do a great job of hierarchy, visual hierarchy with value and color. It's actually not morning here either, but you just woke up. Love it. Tier list real quick. Top down, isometric, 2D pixel art, 3D voxel line art. What's a tier list? You're going to do some gaming? Next week I'll try to release a version of my game. Nice, Rain. Well, I look forward to it. Color and shading help. Here we go. Next up. A couple more, folks. We'll probably end with... I know we haven't gotten on to too many today, but we were talking about perspective for a long time, but I do have to go to sleep soon. I'll work early tomorrow. So this. We'll probably finish with this, which is somebody's game. And I've been meaning to play it. So we'll end with this one, so we'll check this one out. New pixel artist drawing this pumpkin, and I feel good about it so far. Still cleaning up the shading and need to do the eyes or mouth, but just looking for some tips or critique on making the shading or line work better as far as the colors and lighting go. Thanks. Let me have a look. Little update, looks pretty good. Still work to do on the pumpkin. They're filling the rest of the lighting from the candle inside. Okay, cool. One thing, whenever you're doing color, overall, I will say firstly that it definitely improved. It definitely improved. They have I guess they have a light source from the top right as well as the internal light. Shading is a beast that you don't understand at all. Well, it's kind of what I was talking about before. Thanks for the great stream. Take care, my friends. See you next Friday. See you then, Marge. I appreciate you hanging out. Thanks for hanging out, Marge. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for the kind well wishes as well. I hope you're well too. Okay, so shading is often overcomplicated especially with forms like this where you've got like, you know, you kind of think of it like this where it's like super complicated shape, but actually it's just a sphere. Overall, this thing is just a sphere. And what is the sphere? A sphere is just a circle with lighting applied to it, basically. And this thing on top, it looks kind of complicated. It's just a rectangle. You know? It's just a rectangle. If you can shade a sphere, you can shade anything. So you just do the same thing. Start with the initial lighting pass. You can't shade a sphere, you tried. You need some way to study it. You need some way to study it. You need an actual ball or something. I don't know if this light's going to work there. You need a ball or something, and you need to actually study it. We've done this a lot of times. And then you need to just practice how it looks like. Or just look for some reference images. If you don't know how to shade a sphere, reference images. Reference images are king. So, for example, one thing that really stands out about this is you have a light source inside of the mouth, but if you look at what's it called? A pumpkin. Lit inside. If you look at a pumpkin that's lit from inside, right? There isn't any darkness there, usually. There isn't any darkness there, usually. They're super light inside, actually. In the darkness, they're actually, like, surrounded with light. So, whoa. Take a look at this image, for example. You see that? You see how the light source inside, and it makes these edges glow, which is really cool. You know? So these teeth, I know they've drawn like outlines on them, but it would be something more similar to this or closer to this. And always, if you're not sure, just get reference. I'll draw back in these outlines or whatever. And these will actually be lit up, you know what I mean? They're like lit up edges rather than being dark. And the same with this, like you have your form being shown by the by the light inside the mouth. And it kind of looks confusing the way I'm drawing it on top of this, right? So let's go back to this basic. Let's go back to this basic version so that I can show this hopefully a bit better. Let's start with just the standard orange. Okay? Standard orange. Let's draw just standard lighting on top of that. And always check your values. Values are super important with lighting. Let's just add in a light source from the top right. Okay? We just have a standard light source from the top right here. That's why pumpkin makes sense what you're saying, actually. I wasn't sure how to show that glow on the edges. Yeah. It's just, just reference. Reference will help. You know? Reference will help. Subsurface scattering. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to the subsurface scattering. Let's just start with basic shading of a sphere. Take that. We'll take the light. We'll take a darker color. Right, in the most basic sense, without any gradients or anything. Without any gradients, without anything like that, there is a sphere shaded. Okay? It kind of looks 3D now, not really. On top of that, we're now cutting into it. So let's cut into a pattern. Let's cut into it a pattern. Do something a little simpler. Something like that, right? We're now cutting into it a pattern. So we still have the lighting from before. But one thing I want you to notice now is because that we now have planes, right? We have planes. So this underside, you know, you see what I mean? You start to see the planes reflections from the upper light. I might take this one actually. Something like that. And now notice, now it looks like it's carved in. Just because I've added in the underside which is lit. And I do something like this. Okay. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, I might actually change this to this color. Just for now. We want, what do we want this? Maybe like that, that's fine. Beep, beep. Something like that. Put a little bit of texture in, why not? Okay. Now let's put a light inside this thing. Okay. You probably will have some highlights, by the way, from the source on these areas. And it depends on if the mouth is like over or underneath it or whatever. Next thing, let's put in that light source inside of these eyes. So I'm just going to make it completely bright. Okay. So we've now got a light source inside of the light. You're adding two light. Oh, we don't have a nose. I'll do a nose. Inside of the light. Maybe not that light. And then that will, those areas that I lit up before, they will now be also lit by this light. Hold on, it's a bit too light. So your under area, this thing here, all of these things from before. Maybe do a couple of this or something, depending on the way you want it to be form-wise. Obviously, you have to think about it in terms of 3D as well. And that basically is how it works. As Waters said, there's something called subsurface scattering, which is basically if you take a look at your hand, right, and you shine a light on it, notice that the areas with the skin, you see that? How my hand without the light, you see how the edges are red where my hand is? Basically, the light is scattering subsurface. And what do you have underneath your skin? You have blood, right? You have blood. So you have the finger in a thin area. Let's say the in-between webbed areas. You can see that a lot. You can also see it a lot with ears. In fact. Whoa! Can you see it with my ear? Or is this too bright? That's too bright. Oh well. If you want to know how to draw anything, look at my bald head. But basically the light scatters around. You see what I mean? And in between. Subsurface. And it highlights the blood in between. But you see that's called subsurface scattering. And this has it as well. Because this is like a skin, basically. The pumpkin's skin on these edges. You get a lot of that. You get a lot of it in the edges, and you get it in areas where it's scattering in the surface, and you're getting the oranges, basically. So that's what I would say. Whoa, that kind of looks cool, doesn't it? Like a reveal. That's what I would say. But notice how it's taking on the orange. So those highlights here, it's taking on the orange from the pumpkin rather than being yellow. And I would recommend always, if you're not sure, reference. Reference will help you so much when it comes to painting and whatnot. Now, you just take that. Now, we have the basic sphere, right? But now you're thinking, okay, well, what about when it's got loads of crazy, like, shape to it? What about when it's got loads of crazy shape to it, like those, like a pumpkin actually does? Well, you can draw that on top of your previous one, and then just apply the same sort of lighting, kind of, to that. You know, maybe have a little bit more there, maybe less. And I'm just doing this roughly. Might have a bit of darkness in here. Probably not any darkness in there, because there's so much light. There's so much light. And this thing as well, this is just a what's it called? You just put the light there, you know? It doesn't even need, like, this thing being shaded like this doesn't make a huge amount of sense. You might have some, like, bounce light underneath. There's some bounce light underneath, like this. Maybe like that around this side. But other than that, you're just going to have shadow. You know what I mean? Something like that. Your ear has ascended, yeah. You might have some bounce light around this side as well, if it's sitting on a surface. The more I see stuff like this, the more I think Cave Story being made in 5 years was a speed run, not a marathon. Let me have a look at Cave Story. Why is Cave Story like insane? I have heard good things about it. That looks so good and you just drew it in 5 minutes. It's all just fundamental. Like, it literally is all just fundamentals. Like, I don't think I'm particularly... I just think I practice fundamentals. Like, this, all of this knowledge right here, all of this comes from shading very, very basic 3D shapes. You know? Very, very basic 3D shapes. Spheres, if you can shade a sphere, the easiest thing to shade is a freaking box. Yeah? And a rectangle is just a long box. How do you shade a box? Well, we put the light on the top. Let's put the mid-tone on this side. And let's say the shadow's on... I mean, they're probably both mid-tones, really. But there you go. If the light's on that side. What if we put the light here and there? Or maybe not. Maybe the light's just on this side. Maybe there's shadow on this side. You know? Probably isn't there. It's probably on this side. But you get the point. Maybe we put it there. Maybe this is the shadow. Maybe there is no highlight. If you can shade these basic shapes in terms of planes, the problem with lighting is everyone overcomplicates it. You know, everyone overcomplicates it and overcomplicates the shapes, but everything is basic shapes. Literally everything. Every single thing that you draw is going to be you're going to be able to break it down into basic shapes. So if you can shade the basic shapes, you can shade any shape. You can shade anything. Doesn't matter how complicated it gets. Doesn't matter how many light sources there are. It gets a bit more complicated, obviously, but you just have to apply the fundamentals again to a different thing. Oh yeah, so I went to an oil painting class the other day. Different gravy. Yeah, oil painting is nuts. I've only done it once. But oil painting is nuts. Also, be careful not to ingest that shit. Really bad for you, actually. Lighting is only complicated when there's shadow from an object on another object. Yeah, even then, it's like when you have two objects interacting with each other, but you know that it does get complicated because you have the light source, which is a particular color, right? Don't you? And then that light source is bouncing off that and then onto here, and it's kind of like inheriting some of the light source and the object color as well. Like, let's say it's green. Like, this red might be like that or something. Like, you're right, it does get mad complicated. It gets mad complicated, you know? But even then, it's not that bad as well. It gets bad, but it's not that bad also. Just messing around with it. Howdy folks, sorry I've missed so many streams. Hey, no worries. No worries, Oval Martian. Good to see you. Yeah, let's move on to the final thing today, which is, I hope that was helpful at least. I guess it also gets complicated with different kinds of material. Yeah, that's just lighting in general. Like, I think lighting is, that's how it works, right? You learn your basic 3D. Learn your basic 3D. Spheres, cubes. I mean, what else do you need? Spheres and cubes. That's everything. You can make everything out of spheres and cubes. You learn your basic 3D. Learn your materials, like how materials reflect differently. Like I've shown this before on stream, but if I just turn the lights off real quick. So we have this light, yeah? There are two materials here, two balls. One is an 8-ball and one is like a matte. One is like a matte, like exercise ball. Notice how the exercise ball's highlight is more spread across the area. It spreads more across the area because it's a matte surface, and it's like easier for that scatter. Whereas it's a rougher surface, so the light is scattering more across the surface. But this one, the 8-ball, is a smoother surface, so the light is not scattering across the surface as much, and it's bouncing directly towards your eye. So there are loads of little things like that, and you can do like material studies. Material studies are really helpful for that, like looking at how they all reflect light and stuff, like wood and metal and glass and bubbles and lava. I think the hardest thing I ever painted was gold, actually. It was gold. That was really difficult. I found that I challenged myself to learn gold, and that was so hard. Because gold, depending on the type of gold, but gold, like, it's obviously very reflective. Yeah. It's obviously very reflective. So you're getting all the bounce light, and you're getting the shadows like really harsh as well. And then you've also got like you get the warmer bounce light from other gold and stuff. And also sometimes like there are some golds which appear like green, or they get like a greeny tinge to them, depending on the material. Like gold was just really hard. But it's essentially a metal. It's essentially just a metal. So you can just generalize. You can generalize your material studies into like metal, like matte or plastic, kind of thing. Ahmed Al-Duri tutorial on gold. I'll check that out, definitely. I'm gonna write that down. But basically how I figured it out was I just looked at a bunch of reference. And I tried to break it down. So that's one thing I think with anything that you do with art is, if you struggle with anything, learning lighting with Soul's balls. Yeah, exactly. Learning lighting with any type of reference, like you can take a reference and just break it down. And that's why before, what Kohemi was saying as well is like learning the fundamentals, learning the rules, that it's going to help you because you'll be able to break things down rather than not knowing how something is made. Like you can take a look at a picture and you can go, oh, look at this, and you can establish a relationship between the visual element, the visual side of it, which is cool. Okay, last. And I'm not like a master or anything, by the way, folks. This is just things that I've learned over the years and attempted, and hopefully will help you. Last one, my first Steam game. This is called Super Choppy Orc. Okay, this is the last one we're gonna do because then I gotta call it because it's getting late. They did send me a Steam key. How lucky! I'm very lucky. Let's see if I still have it. Hopefully. I'll hopefully pop back in the stream a little bit. I've got a bit of writing to do. Hey, no worries. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's have a look. Give me a second here. Where is it? Where is it? Uh-oh. Hopefully didn't lose it. Choppy Orc. There it is. Hey, everyone want this Steam key? Okay, give me a second, folks. Activate a product on Steam. Count. Got it. Where is it? So we're going to check out this game, and this is going to be the last thing we do today. But I hope this has been useful today. If there's anything that's been kind of stand out, or if there's any resources you could recommend for me so that I can learn more, please do. I always trying to learn more. Always, always, always. That tutorial I'll definitely check out, Koemi. I appreciate that. Gold is literally brown, yeah. There's so many different types of gold. The ones I was looking at were like butter type. So many different types of you can have like brushed metals and stuff as well. So many. So much goldness. Gold, gold. I recommend a channel called Soul Tunes. It has good tutorials. I'm just learning. Just someone also learning. So here we go, folks. Super Choppy Orc. You ready for this? Is it working? Seen golden toys that are literally this yucky brown? Yeah. It's gonna work. Hello? Maybe I need to be like in the window. I like how you think it's not about knowing everything, but thinking about everything and looking for answers. Yeah. Figure it out, you know? References. Until you know it, like off by heart, reference is going to help you. I don't say anything. Yeah, me neither, Pierre. I don't know why it doesn't show up. I wonder if I can just do like window cap or something. There we go. Super Choppy Orc, folks. This is a game that they want some feedback on. What did they say? They said, I've sent the Steam key, blah, blah, blah. I made the art apart from the characters. Also, if you are going to try the game, please do not do on the next stream because I like to watch you play, but I'm not going to make it today. On November 10th? Oh, they don't want us to play it today. Ah, they don't want us to play it today. Okay, we'll save it then. We'll save it. We'll save it. We'll save it. Was about to play it, but I'll save it. We'll save it. We'll save it. Looks cool. Good teaser. There we go. We'll do a couple more then. Now, I'm not going to play it because they're not here. They're not here. They're not here. That's for next time, folks. You want to see the game? You got teased. You got teased nice. There is another game we could play. Let's play this one. We'll play this one instead. This is Little Juho's game, Little Run More. We'll play this one instead. This is based off of a cartoon, by the way. This is Little Run More. It's based off a cartoon. If you haven't seen the cartoon, you should check it out. I liked its title screen. You played Choppy Orc. You did, Sarah. Yes, I think that's what it's from, right? So here we go. Let's check out this one. We got some controls here. Run, move. Let's play this one. The cartoon is very, very good. The cartoon is very good. And this is based entirely off the cartoon. We played it a while back, actually. So let's give some feedback and let's play it. I probably won't play all of it because, again, I haven't got much longer left. Probably about 10 minutes. We play about 10 minutes. Made with the Godot engine. Hopefully the audio doesn't come up through the mic. Game based on 2019 animated film Little Run More. Let's go. Already high quality. Game or exit? Well, we should probably play the game. So good. Juho is very good at making games. And already I know the feedback that we gave last time was when you're running in one direction. When you're running in one direction, we should see more of the other side of the screen. And we already have that implemented, which is nice. Can you look down? Hold on. Controls? Uh-oh. Was there a way to look down? Oh, yeah. There it is. Got it. Squash and stretch on the jump is good. What does this say again? Forget the controls. Sitting down on couch, very, very good. Yeah. How do you talk to this thing again? It says, oh, there we go. Pick it. Hint. Falling in pits kills you. I sometimes wonder at what point in the pit do you actually die? That sounds interesting. For those of you who have seen the cartoon, you will know. You will know what you're supposed to do here. This reminds me of the old TV show Bullseye. Yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it? Pickett says, howdy, I'm Pickett. Pickett the sign. Hee. Oh, it's you again. Don't ask me how I ended up here. I won't. So squishy, I love it, yeah. So if you haven't seen the cartoon, definitely watch it. I just felt like going left, by the way. I don't know if there was like a particular direction that I should be going. But left just felt right. I need to get that going. Overall, the game feels amazing. Very satisfying to collect the coins. Always left first, yeah. Do the little... I forget you can do that. Wow, what a fun looking place. Platforming feels nice. Oh my goodness! Easy. Nearly died. Nearly died. Who made this? This was Juho. Juho has been a part of the community for a while. I think there was something down there, but let's have a look. Not sure. Not sure. But it's in the Discord if you want to play it. I'm kind of concentrating right now because I'm trying not to die. I like the pop. Yeah, me too. The sound effects are great. Think you might already know that the boulders are dangerous? Well, if you don't, you're welcome. Go here. Love the art style. Yeah, it's cool. The art is all based off of the original animation. So... I don't think Juho can take full credit for that. But the pixel art version, rendition of that is really good. So... that's something you can't take credit for. Or they. Whoa. Go down here. Oh yeah! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I like that you can look down. Different jump animation. The crouch is nice. It is really nice, yeah. Like the visual bang, yeah. Everything is just very well thought out. Oh! Nice, okay. No problem, no problem. Saved. How to achieve this? Many small iterations, yeah. Iterations, feedback, get people to play a game. Someone watched the game art video. Yeah, we gave feedback to this a while back and we mentioned some of the things. So Juho is a really good dev though. Juho does a lot of like game jams and stuff, and Juho's games from the game jams have been really good in the past, so I kind of expected it. Kind of expected it to be good. How do you get up there then? Can we go down there? Can't look down. Let's just try jumping across. Storage. What is it? Did we go left there? I think we did. Is it a different area? So I don't remember the cartoon too much, so this must be fire, right? Spikes, okay. I think I assumed fire because of the red. Ding! Oh, I should listen to this guy. What do you want to say? This is made in Godot, by the way, I think. Getting hit by spikes will kill you. Okay. Oh, I didn't know that was a wall. I thought I was going straight forward then. Oh, I thought that was a wall! Okay, confusing. Confusing. I don't know what's walls and what isn't walls. That's a little bit strange. I expected that to be a wall. Uh-oh. Couple of things there, couple of things. I should get that live back. Because that doesn't look like a wall, this one, but this one does. This one looks like a wall I can hit with, but it isn't. But I guess I should have learned that from before why I didn't get hit. I don't know. Life system, old school, yeah. That's, again, based on the original cartoon. I know there was a warning there, but I mean, come on. I need that life. Kyoto time. That was Kyoto time problem. So yeah, we're gonna call it there. You did need the life. I did need the life, yeah. I did need the life. Blind jumps or a no-no, yeah. Okay, folks, I'm gonna leave it there. Overall, I mean, last time we played this, there wasn't any of this section. And I mean, it just feels good. It feels good. Blind jumps. There are some like inconsistencies with like the wall and stuff. Like what is interactable, what isn't interactable kind of thing. The little tingle almost teases you. Yeah. Yeah, I did like that. But this is a really good game. If you want to check it out, please do so here. And again, I would definitely recommend the Little Run More cartoon. It's literally like 16 minutes long, as you can see if I move my head out of the way. It's a 2D animated video basically, with a lot of twists and turns and teases and things like that. Exactly the same. So basically Juho has taken this and turned it into a pixel art game. The biggest feedback that we gave last time was the animation has some things which don't work in a game setting, like walls not looking like walls or things not being super consistent, like what you can platform off of and such, which I think they did a pretty good job of. But as we saw also when I was playing it, there were some walls which didn't know they were interactable and some blind areas and whatnot. But overall, very, very good. But if you want to check out this animation, here is the URL for that as well. And that's going to be it for me today, folks. Whoa, double. That's going to be it for me. Thanks everyone for hanging out today on Feedback Friday. We'll be back next Friday, probably, for more Feedback Friday. I'll probably cut some things up at some point, maybe Sunday. I'll probably cut some things up at some point and put the tips into shorter videos for YouTube, because I know some people would like the tips just at hand, and it might help us get through more things in the future where I can just be like, yeah, check out this video, rather than me have to talk about it too much. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. June, Pudnick, Dom, Gav, Determined Daff, Talaba, Sarah, everyone. Have a good weekend. All. Don't work too hard. Yes, everyone have a good one. Peace, everybody. Goodbye. See you next time. Like, comment, subscribe. Moku, Sarah, June, everyone. Goodbye.